Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about two great Qabalah books, and these are two Qabalah books that complement each other, and I'm also talking and referring to Hermetic Qabalah, which is the Qabalah of the Golden Dawn, and these books are really at the beginner to intermediate level. So both of these books are based on the Qabalah and correspondence ideas that are very much in the Book of Thoth, and this is the book that was written by Aleister Crowley. So I particularly like these two books, and the first book I'm going to talk about is probably quite well known in the Qabalah world, and it's written by Israel Regardie, and it's called A Garden of Pomegranates, and it's actually two books. The first book is A Garden of Pomegranates, and the second book is by another author, or another two authors, and the second book is called Skrying on the Tree of Life. And here is the book here. It is still readily available. It's published by Llewellyn. It's quite a thick book because it is two books in one. And the second book is written by Chic Sandra and his partner Sandra Cicero. And Israel Regardie is quite well known in America because he set up an order that was based on the ideas of the Golden Dawn. And he also is well known for a book that he wrote called The Golden Dawn. Israel Regardie was a personal secretary of Aleister Crowley when Israel Regardie was a very young man, and Aleister Crowley was near the second half of his life. Aleister Crowley was about 30 years older than Israel Regardie. Israel Regardie was actually a member of an order called Stella Matutina. And Stella Matutina was one of the four groups, or one of the four orders that formed after the disbandment of the Golden Dawn. So the Golden Dawn was well and truly disbanded by the time Israel Regardie was born. So a lot of people get the false idea that Israel Regardie was a member of the original Order of the Golden Dawn, when he actually could not have been, because that was already disbanded by the time he was born. But he was a member of the order called Stella Matutina, which was one of the later orders that was set up after the original Golden Dawn. So I wanted to point that out because a lot of people get the wrong idea about that, about Israel Regardie and his connection to the Golden Dawn. The branch that he set up in America before Israel Regardie died is based on the ideas of the Golden Dawn. So I just wanted to point that out and explain that. The Garden of Pomegranates is mainly about it's really about the Qabalah, and it's a good beginner's guide to the Qabalah. It tells you all of the basics of Qabalah and Hermetic Qabalah, which is the type of Qabalah that I'm referring to and what this book is about. So A Garden of Pomegranates is really good to learn about the basics and the structure of Qabalah. I think it is a really good book, A Garden of Pomegranates. The second book, Skrying on the Tree of Life, by Chic Sandra Cicero and Sandra Cicero. They were friends of Israel Regardie towards the end of Israel Regardie's life, and they helped to set up the branch of the order, which is the group that is based on the Golden Dawn. So they helped to set up this branch in America with Israel Regardie. Skrying on the Tree of Life is a book about the 22 paths of Qabalah, which are corresponded with the 22 major arcana cards. So the second book in this volume, which is Skrying on the Tree of Life, is a very good book as well, because it has a lot of wonderful visualizations for each of the 22 paths of the Qabalah. And I think it's quite a unique book, and these two books in this volume really do complement each other really well. So I would recommend this to people who are beginner to intermediate level. I think you definitely should read the first book by Israel Regardie, this Garden of Pomegranates, first, which is like part 1 of this volume, before you look at part 2, which is Skrying on the Tree of Life. So this is a great book. It's still readily available, and I think it's a unique book, and I think it's a great book all round about Hermetic Qabalah. So it's published by Llewellyn, quite easy to get. The second book is rather new. It was only published towards the end of last year, also published by Llewellyn, and it is called Shamanic Qabalah by Daniel Moeller. It's quite a unique book, and I really like this book. I didn't expect to like this book, but it's a bit of a hybrid book. The shamanic part of Qabalah, this is Daniel Moeller's concept of Qabalah, and this is kind of a book. It's written in 3 parts. The first part is his introduction to Qabalah and some of the concepts that he has associated with Qabalah. Part 2 of the book is to do with Qabalah in regard to Peruvian shamanism, which is quite an original concept. I think it's interesting to refer to or correspond Qabalah in this way. I have always seen Qabalah as an initiation path, so I can see why Daniel Moeller has sort of brought the concept of shamanism into the Qabalah concept. I think it's interesting. I'll be honest here and say that I prefer part 1 and part 3 of this book. I'm not saying I don't. I just feel I don't quite resonate with the Peruvian shamanism correspondence, but other people may quite like that. But I really like part 1. I think it's a great introduction to the author's concepts and ideas about Qabalah. I think it's very well written, part 1. And part 3 is more like conventional Hermetic Qabalah based on the Book of Thoth. And I just really like the way part 3 is set out. I think it really sets out not only the paths, the 22 paths of Qabalah, but also the 10 Sephiroth. And he also has correspondences that are based on the Golden Dawn. He mentions the corresponding tarot cards as well. And I'm really quite impressed with this book because of the way it has been organised and set out, and the correspondences, and I think it's actually quite a spiritual book. I'm really quite impressed with this book. I thought it looked interesting when I saw the title a few months ago, but once I looked at this book and was able to see just how well written it is. Daniel Moeller is someone who trained with Dolores Ashcroft Nowicki, and who is very well regarded in Qabalah. She is a Qabalah expert. So I think that's why this book is so well written. So this book is quite easy to get. It was only published at the end of last year. And this book actually refers to a Garden of Pomegranates as well. So these two books really do complement each other. And this book could be used for beginner to intermediate level as well. I think part 3 might be more of an intermediate level. I think the main thing to keep in mind as a beginner is that the concepts of Peruvian shamanism are not a part of the Golden Dawn ideas, because it was the Golden Dawn who created Hermetic Qabalah in the first place. So Peruvian shamanism is, an added concept idea. But it's quite a good book, and I wanted to recommend this book as well as A Garden of Pomegranates, because they're both great books and they do complement each other if you're interested in getting both books. So Shamanic Qabalah by Daniel Moeller, and I'll put the details below the video. So I hope you have found that interesting, learning about those two books. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.